Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dan McCulka and I'm a member of the HSE team here at Dexter. Today we'll be covering confined space safety training. Let's get started on staying safe and informed. All right, team. So the lesson objectives for this training include what is a confined space, permit required versus non-permit required confined space, and then roles and responsibilities within the process. So again, welcome to the training, or as I like to call it, how not to become a headline. A confined space program must be in place to satisfy OSHA's 1910.146, along with other related standards. So why are we here? Good question to ask. Well, because OSHA says so, and because we'd rather go home at the end of the day instead of becoming part of a rescue operation. Confined spaces are those sneaky spots that look harmless. Spots such as tanks, pits, silos, etc., but they're basically the villains of the workplace. Big enough to get in, but not designed for you to hang out, and sometimes full of surprises you don't want. Today we'll cover what makes these spaces dangerous, how to spot them, and so you don't end up starring in a late night cautionary tale. So some good definitions and key concepts to remember. So let's clear up what is meant by a confined space. So like on the previous slide, as mentioned, it's not your closet at home, even if it feels like one. A confined space is any area that's big enough for you to squeeze in and do some work. It has limited entry and exit points, and it's not designed for you to live in. Now, a permit required confined space is the VIP section of the danger zone. These spaces have extra hazards, such as toxic gases, low oxygen levels, and things that could potentially crush you. So it sounds like a bad action movie plot. It'll probably require a permit requirement. Non-permit requirement most likely does not contain atmospheric hazards. All right, on to roles and responsibilities. Let's start with the authorized entrant. So this is a brave soul who actually goes inside. Their job, stay alive, follow the rules, and don't improvise. The attendant is the person outside the hole or the confined space location who watches the entrant like a hawk. They don't go in ever. If things go bad, they call for help. Next is the entry supervisor, the boss of the operation. They make sure the permit is legit, the hazards are controlled, and that everyone knows what they're doing. And then the rescue team. These folks are the last line of defense. They're trained, equipped, and ready. But hopefully we never need them, because if they show up, something went very wrong. The bottom line here is everyone has a role, so make sure you stick with yours. Hazard identification. Now let's talk hazards. So first off in the green, atmospheric hazards. So low on oxygen, then that would make you feel like as if you're climbing a mountain, but without the view. Too much oxygen present, congratulations, you've just made everything more flammable. Toxic gases, those invisible troublemakers that don't care about your lungs at all. These are all things that could potentially cause you harm in the right environment. Engulfment hazards, these are in red or pink. Think quicksand, but in a tank. Grain, sand, liquid. If it can swallow you whole, it's a problem. On to mechanical hazards, which are in yellow. These include moving parts, rotating blades, or anything that looks like it belongs in a horror movie. Lock it out before you go in. And then energy sources, in blue. Electricity, hydraulics, steam, basically anything that can zap, crush, or cook you. All right, before you go into a confined space, let's talk about the air in there, because if you can't breathe, nothing else really matters. Rule number 1, test before you enter. Don't trust your nose. Most deadly gases are sneaky ninjas. No smell, no color, just bad news. What are we checking for? So a trained individual, most likely a member of safety or your maintenance team, will be checking for the oxygen levels. If they're too low or they're too high, that could introduce different risks involved in completing the work. If it's too high, everything's potentially ready to ignite, and that's very dangerous. Flammable gases, because explosions are not part of the job description. And then toxic gases, if present, most common being carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide. These are invisible troublemakers. Use a calibrated gas monitor to test the atmosphere, such as in the picture. And don't step at the doorway. Test the entire space and keep monitoring while you're in there, because the conditions can change faster than the mood of somebody on a Monday morning. If the air isn't safe, then you're not going in. So again, this is not going to be conducted by an employee, most likely to be a member from HSE or a third-party contractor. Okay, permits. Not the kind you need to park downtown. These are way more important. A confined space permit entry is basically your ticket to go inside safely. No permit equals no entry. Simple as that. So what's on the permit? Who's going in? Who's watching? What hazards are in there? What controls we've put in place so you don't end up on the evening news. So the entry supervisor signs off on the permit, and that signature means, yep, we've checked everything, you're all good to go. And then when the job's done, cancel the permit. No leaving it lying around. It's got to be done, and then the process. All right, let's talk about making that confined space feel less like a death trap and more like a safe workspace. So ventilation, this is in green. Fresh air is your friend. Use blowers or fans to kick out the bad stuff and bring in good stuff, or breathable air. Think of it as a space, giving the space a breath mint. Cools it off. Isolation, which is in the yellow. Lock out and tag out anything that moves, spins, or flows. Electricity, hydraulics, steam, if it can hurt you, shut it down. There should be no surprises. Barriers and guards, which are found in the pink, include cover openings, block off hazards, and make sure no one accidentally falls in. Control the hazards before they even think about stepping inside. Very important. All right, gear up, because going into a confined space without PPE is like going skydiving without a parachute. Technically possible, but not recommended. So respiratory protection. If the air might kill you, wear the right respirator. If no, holding your breath is not approved. Harness and retrieval systems. If you're going in, you need a way out fast. A harness and lifeline, they're definitely not fashion statements, but they're your best bet for emergency exit strategy. Lastly, communication. Devices such as radios, headsets, whatever keeps you connected to the outside world. Cell phone as well would be a good example. And remember, PPE isn't optional. It's not like choosing between sneakers or boots. It's the difference between walking out or being carried out. Okay, let's talk about what happens when things go sideways. Because in a confined space, sideways can happen fast. First rule, if something goes wrong, the attendant does not jump in. They call for help. They keep eyes on the entrant or the person who's doing the work. Rescue types. Non-entry rescue is the goal. Use retrieval systems to pull the entrant out without sending another person into the danger. Entry rescue, that's the last resort, and only for trained rescue teams with the right gear. The rescue team requirements, they need to know the hazards, have the right equipment to be ready to go fast. First aid and CPR. Someone on site should be trained, because waiting for an ambulance while doing nothing is not a good plan. Let's talk about everyone's favorite part, training. Don't roll your eyes. This stuff keeps you alive, so it's very important. Training frequency. You need initial training before you ever step into the confined space. For most, that's what this is. that we're currently covering. But it's also important to have a refresher training if anything changes, whether it's with the process or it's a new piece of equipment. It's always good to review training so it's fresh in the front of your mind. Documentation, yes, write it down. Why? Because OSHA loves paperwork almost as much as lawyers do. Permits, training records, hazard assessments, they all need to be documented. Why this all matters? If something goes wrong, the first thing anyone asks is, was this person trained? So let's make sure the answer is always yes. All right, team, let's recap. If you remember nothing else, remember this. 1, confined spaces are not friendly. If it looks sketchy, tight, or air challenged, treat it like it's out to get you. 2, always test the air, every time. Not earlier today, not yesterday was fine, every single entry. 3, use the permit, use the controls, use the PPE. The rules aren't there to make your job harder, they're there to allow you to actually do it and return again tomorrow. Stick to your roles. Number 4, rescues don't need extra victims and cowboy instincts don't impress OSHA. And lastly, number 5, slow down. Follow the process and don't take shortcuts. All right, in summary, the training covers how to identify permit and non-permit required confined spaces, recognize the hazards they contain, and follow safe entry procedures to prevent injuries and fatalities. Participants learn required roles and responsibilities, proper atmospheric testing, hazard controls, use of permits, PPE, and emergency rescue planning. Thank you for your attention and commitment to workplace safety. By understanding and following confined space safety training, you'll protect yourself and your coworkers every day. Stay safe and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.